Thank you so much for joining us today, Camilla. So this is your first time at IMpower. Can you just tell us a little bit about your experience so far?
Yeah, sure. So it's been really great. It's been good. It's my first time to Monaco as well. I think the conference has been really well organised and there's lots of interesting topics and debates. It's kind of making sure you fit in all the sessions and kind of fitting everything in.
Yeah, and can you tell us a little bit about those interesting conversations that you've been having and interesting panels that you've sat in?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of empowering conversations and talking a lot about DE&I and a lot about women and kind of like diversity and how that's going to empower the future, and also how our wealth transfer and how that's going to be going to mainly women and also the younger generations, and how like industry and companies are set up to deal with that in the future.
So kind of touching on like the diversity of the industry, you participated in the Finding Your Voice program in partnership with Women in Asset Services. Can you just tell us a little bit about the process and the workshop and kind of what you gained from that experience?
Yeah, so it was a really positive experience. You had to apply to get involved, and then they selected, I think it's 5 of us, and then we had an afternoon being taught on how to speak publicly and kind of like key tips. We hadn't pre-planned or anything, so it was kind of like a 3-hour crash course, and then we'd stand up and present in front of a crowd of like people. It was really good. It was like very scary, something I'd never done before, wildly out of my comfort zone, but definitely a huge sense of satisfaction once you've done it, and kind of a bit like, do I enjoy this or do I want to do a bit more? So it kind of just gets you thinking from that perspective.
And can you tell me why you think that programs like that are important for the industry?
I think it's really important because you often wouldn't get the opportunity to stand up and kind of speak in front of an audience and also have that specific coaching. I'm from a smaller organisation, you don't necessarily have pathways where they're like, we'll do public speaking, we'll do that. So it was just a really good opportunity to go out of your comfort zone and talk about, I spoke about park run, for example. I'd never get the chance to do that in another situation, really.
Do you think you'll be taking the opportunity to speak in public more now?
I think so. I think it kind of gives you the confidence. I've spoken to my firm about having some presentation trainings, how I can kind of further build on those skills, which I didn't really think about before. So hopefully this time next year I'll be kind of even more confident and speaking better.
And you've kind of been identified as a next-gen leader now, and you'll be part of the panel that later today, If I Were a CEO. Can you just tell us what your feelings about that?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be part of the panel, obviously with the girls who I did Finding Your Voice with, which was great. Kate Webber's been really brilliant, and kind of like we've had some really good prep sessions. And I think it would just be interesting to kind of share our thoughts and experiences, and hopefully the wider audience can hear what our thoughts are. And it's literally giving us a voice to speak to leaders in the industry.
And what do you think next-gen leaders can do to kind of bridge the diversity gap? What more do you think should be done by the industry as a whole?
Yeah, so I think there are really great programs in place. So you've got 10,000 Black interns, you've got the leadership or the pathway program, which is about getting female analysts into fund management jobs. At the moment, only 12% of fund managers are female, which is a really low stat, yet 55% of the wealth in 2030 is going to be owned by women. So it's kind of bridging that gap, and I think it's about companies being cognizant of that, and also not only for it happening at entry level, but also promoting it internally. I think that's probably how it's going to do. So I think actually the intake's okay. It's actually promoting people up throughout the company, women and people of different cultural and ethnic backgrounds.
And now after this experience, if you could give me kind of a window into your life 12 months from now, what are you hoping this experience will have kind of held you to?
And so I hope I would have spoken maybe on a few more panels, done maybe some internal presentations on stuff that I don't necessarily feel as comfortable with. And also I want to speak to other people, like younger people in my organisation, and encourage them to kind of go out and do these kind of things. And, it's actually not that scary after all, because that's how I met people through other organisations for women in asset servicing, which is how I found out about Finding Your Voice. And there've been some really lovely mentors externally for me, and they've had a real influence on how I've kind of got on this year. And hopefully I want to be able to replicate that next year for others.
So it's great to hear that you've had such a positive experience, and good luck in your panel later today. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.